learners, welcome to my course Ecology from Cells to Gaia. Today we will talk about plant and animal adaptation and interaction with the environment. Conditions are the physical-chemical features of the environment such as its temperature and humidity. Environmental resources instead are consumed by living organisms in the course of their growth and reproduction. There are three basic types of responses curve to the conditions. The extreme condition may be lethal with between two extremes, a continuum of more favorable conditions, or a condition may be lethal only at high intensity, or a condition may be required by organisms at low concentration but become toxic at high concentration. These responses are accounted for, in part, by changes in the metabolic effectiveness. In practice, the effect of condition may be determined largely by the response of other communities members through food consumption, disease, competition, or cooperation. Many conditions are important stimuli for growth and development and prepare an organism for conditions that are to come. In the case of plants, solar radiation, water, minerals, and carbon dioxide are critical resources. Photosynthesis is the way used by plants to live. In fact, rubisco can be considered the most important enzyme in plants, that is the enzyme that makes photosynthesis. The radiation that reaches a plant is forever changing. The plant integrates the diverse exposure of its various leaves. Most variation in leaf shape has probably evolved under selection to optimize the photosynthesis achieved per unit of water transpired. Any mechanism or process that slows the rate of water loss, such as the closing of stomata, reduces the photosynthetic rate. There are also specialized biochemical processes that may increase the amount of photosynthesis that can be achieved per unit of water lost in plants that are called C4 on CAM, as opposed to C3 plants. Most of C3 plants are trees and C4 plants are grasses. They use different ways to integrate and to intake carbon dioxide in their tissues. And CAM are crucilaceous metabolism that is used by crucilaceous plants to have metabolism under high sun level. Moreover, in the case of plant, root architecture is particularly important here because different nutrients are held in the soil by different forces. Green plants are called autotrophs. It means they don't need external resources apart from water, light, and carbon dioxide to produce energy. Instead, the composer, predators, grazers, parasites, so animals, are called heterotrophs. Animals which have no metabolic method of regulating their body temperature are known as ectotherms. Ectotherms use behavior to control their body temperature by altering the amount of heat that are gaining or losing by convection, conduction, and radiation. Endotherms use internally generated heat to maintain body temperature. Their body temperature tends to stay steady regardless of the environment. There is a process in ecology that is called coevolution. The various parts of plants, for instance, have a very different composition and so offer quite different resources. And the diversity is matched by the diversity of the mouth parts and digestive tracts that have evolved to consume them. The body of a plant is a quite different package of resources from the body of an animal. To make better use of plant material, many herbivores enter into a mutualistic association with cellulotic bacteria and protozoa in their alimentary canal. The carbon-nitrogen ratio of plant tissue greatly exceeds those of bacteria, fungi, and animals. Thus, herbivores typically have a superabundant source of energy and carbon, but nitrogen is often limiting. Their main waste products are carbon dioxide and fiber. The bodies of different species of animals have remarkably similar composition. Carnivores are not faced with the problems of digestion, but rather with difficulties in finding, catching, and overcoming the defenses of the prey. Carnivores' main excretory products are nitrogenous. There are interactions for resources. Individuals may compete indirectly via a shared resource through exploitation or directly through interference. The ultimate effect of competition is on survival, growth, and reproduction of individuals. Typically, the greater the density of a population of competitors, the greater is the effect on competition. It's the density dependence effect, also called a Lee effect. As a result, the total number of survivors or offspring may increase, decrease, or stay in the same initial density increase. It is now important to define what are conditions, resources, and the ecological niches to introduce new arguments. So, where an organism lives is called habitat. A niche, instead, is a summary of organism tolerance and requirements. We need to understand that the modern concept of ecological niche was proposed by Atkinson in 1957, and it's an n-dimensional hypervolume. So it's a volume within which the organism can live and is composed by different variables, such as humidity, temperature, food resources, etc. A set of n variables that represent biologically important independent axes are identified, and the hypervolume is defined by a set of points within this n-dimensional space that reflects suitable values of the variables, such as temperature or food size. So now, at the end of this lecture, I have some questions for you. In what ways do ectotherms or endotherms differ, and in what ways are they similar? Second question is how you could represent an ecological niche. Try to imagine and draw it. So thanks for your attention and see you at the next lecture.